Alrighty, good with the internet is making sure you have good internet for this type of thing. Anyway, we'll see how we go. Hopefully you can see it all right. All right, let's go to the chat box, see who's joined us so far this morning. It looks like we've got Susan, we've got Tim. Great to have you here from sunny South Florida, hopefully. Having a drink out of the Pixel Chatter cup. All right. Hopefully you're receiving the stream okay, because it is still coming up as I've got a bad internet connection, so you're not getting a good stream. So that's an internet problem this morning. Why are we getting an internet problem? Let's have a look and see if I can fix that before we get stuck into things. G'day Kyle, g'day Sam, g'day Brian, g'day Jeff. Nice to see you all here. Just trying to get this stream sorted. A bit of buffering, yeah, I think that's going to be happening. Here we go. It says it's now good. All right. It says it's now good, so you should be getting a nice constant stream going through. All right, how's everybody doing? Top of the morning to you. Just getting enjoying the coffee this morning out of the Pixel Chatter cup. I think I'll start making Pixel Chatter cups for VIP members or something. How's that? Make them available. If I can work out where Scott got them from. Anyway, all right, let's get stuck into today's show. So as I said at the top of the show, a bit of an experiment today. We'll see how we go. As you know, the last few episodes, the computer's been crashing. And I've updated some software and hopefully that'll make some changes, and just made a few changes from a recommendation from my computer guru, and we're going to see how it goes this week. So if it does crash, just be patient. I'll get it up and running again as I have in the past, and we'll just see how it goes. But we'll get stuck straight into things. I can see that who we got there? Anthony, Sam, Bala, g'day Bala. All sorts of people jumping into the chat box. All right, let's jump straight into it and we'll get stuck into today's Pixel Chatter show. Now, I have made a small change. I'm only going to do 2 images because I'm finding that I'm running out of time to do 3 images. So I'm only going to be doing 2 images. I don't have a viewer kit this week because nobody sent me in a viewer kit. So if you want to share your viewer kit with us, you'll see a link down below there where you can send me an email, or you can jump on the Facebook page and send me a picture of your viewer kit. And we'll share it with the world. It'll be interesting to see what you've got. Just lay your kit out somewhere, take a photo from above with as much or as little as that kit included as you want. Give me a description and I'll share it with everybody on the Pixel Chatter show, which is cool. So we don't have a viewer kit, but we do have a Lightroom tip. We do have a couple other things to talk about, which is kind of cool. One of the things that I launched this week that I think the VIPs are going to enjoy, already started in fact, is I've started the VIP Weekly Photography Challenge. Now, if you're not a VIP, it's a very important photographers group. You can head over to patreon.com/on3legs, that's with the number 3, and you can see how you become a VIP there. But as a VIP, we've got a photography challenge running. What I did was I've come up with a subject or a topic or a theme for every week of the year for the next however long until Christmas. And what I'm going to be doing is on a Monday night at midnight is when the submissions close off. So the VIPs right now are trying to capture a sunset. So we started with sunset, something nice and easy. We're going to have some more technical themes as the year goes on. But we've started with sunset, and I've seen a few submissions already in the VIP group. Which if I jump over here, we'll have a look. We'll have a quick look so you can see what's going on in the VIP group. Let's see if I can get this working. Here we go. So I noticed, where are we? This is the VIP chat group, which is a private chat group. There's one there from Ren Thielen. There's one from John Grawl. So some different sunsets coming in. And if you want to join that challenge, I said, go over to patreon.com/on3legs. Once again, that's in the link down below the video anyway, if you want to jump into that. But I've got some really cool themes coming up, some that will really challenge you guys in the VIP group to really stretch your photography knowledge. which is what it's all about, isn't it? It's about taking our photography to the next level. Okay. You know what happened during the week? I don't know whether to mention this or not. As a YouTuber, I think any public platform, right? There are people out there that for some reason, I think they call them trolls on the internet, decide that they want to target people. And I've had a couple recently, and it's really interesting. And I don't know, I'm tempted to respond to them sometimes. And quite often it's just a comment on a YouTube video, or it could be something on a Facebook post. And I'm not super active on social media, but, this is my main thing, is just doing the YouTube channel. But I had somebody during the week tell me that I'm just average and I should just admit I'm average and give all this up. And I've never ever said I'm anything more than average, by the way, but it just amazed me to think that people, when they're behind their keyboard, they're so brave, these people. Now, I just delete the comments. Anytime I get a stupid comment or something that's not constructive, now I don't mind criticism, I'm happy to take criticism, but if it's just an attack, or if it's just, being stupid, I just delete it. And that's my, I guess, luxury, because I own the YouTube channel. If I don't like something, I can just delete it. And but it just got me thinking, what gives someone else the right to tell somebody else where they're at in life and what they can and can't do. And I remember this saying I learned years ago. I went to a training workshop years ago, and the trainer said, you deny in yourself what you deny in others. So if you deny others success, you're going to deny yourself success, and it is a mental thing, right? It's a mindset game. And so quite often I get these people targeting me, going, you're nobody, you're not a famous photographer, you shouldn't have a YouTube channel, you're just Mr. Average, just admit it and stop doing this. And I think, I don't know why people do that, because it's not about that for me. It's not about, I'm not trying to be famous or any of those things. The reality is I just love sharing what I know. And yeah, sure, there's people that are much better photographers than me. There's no doubt about it. But are they running a YouTube channel? No. That's a reality, right? So it's just one of those things. And I just thought it was interesting. I don't know what your thoughts are. Put it in the chat box anyway. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts about these trolls that are on the internet. But internet bullying is a big thing. It's not just for kids, but it's for adults as well. And I see quite a lot of YouTubers get knocked around by it. It doesn't really bother me. I'm pretty broad-shouldered, but it was just interesting. I had quite a few in the last week, and I thought I would just mention that. Although it's usually on older videos that they must come across. I don't know. There you go. All right, let's get stuck into the Lightroom tip of the week. But I'd be interested to get your thoughts. Jump into the chat box and let me know. All right, what's going on in the chat box? Let's have a quick look. G'day, John, Liverpool, UK. Gianni, how are you, mate? Brian, sunsets are not easy down here. Well, the challenge is to work with what you've got. Work with what you've got. If you are struggling to capture a sunset because of the weather, then just work with what you've got. If you make the submission, here's the thing that I always say: the only failure is the failure to participate. So if you do nothing, if you don't even try to take a photo, then that's a failure. If you try and take a sunset photo, then at least you've had a go. And if you have a go, then and even if you with your submission, leave a description and say, hey, I had a go, the clouds wouldn't let the sun out, but here's my attempt. And maybe your sunset photo is conveying the fact that there is no sunset. Give that a go and see how you go. I got something in my eye yesterday. I was mowing the lawn. I got something in my eye. I should wear some goggles or something. And I think some of it's still in there. Anyway. It's good to have a cup of Joe in the morning. All right. Jeff says trolls are tools. Yes, they are. Sam applauds that. G'day, Kathleen from Overcast, Brizzy. Yeah, it's a bit overcast here in Sydney this morning too. Just looking out my window. If you're wondering where my eyes go and look up there, I actually have a window in my little study here. Tim, some folks just like to cause trouble. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I think that if you bumped into those same people in the street and they didn't have the keyboard to protect them, or the barriers of the internet to protect them, they probably wouldn't say anything. So, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? All right, so Lightroom tip of the week. One of the things that I like doing, which you've probably noticed when I look at my pictures in Lightroom, is putting that black background up. So let me just bring my screen up so we can have a look. at what I'm talking about. Let's get rid of that and go to this screen here. Here we go. All right. So now looking at my Lightroom. One of the things that I like to do, as you know, is press that L key, which I've shown you before. So inside of Lightroom, press the L key and you get this view. And I like using this view because it just gives me a look at the picture as if it was framed almost, without any other distractions. There's another thing you can do to do the same thing if you want to keep your work area visible, because definitely if you hit with one key, you can still see your work area, and it allows you to use your work area, so you can keep using things, but it's quite faded. And then when you hit the L key the second time, then the work area disappears completely. But maybe you want your work area to be this clear but still have a black background. Well, the good news is you can. Let me find a better photo, because I'll find one that's a pano so we can see more of the background. Here we go, we'll use this one. The good news is that you can. All you do if you want to change the background inside this workspace is right click and select black, and all of a sudden you'll get a black one. The other thing you can do if you want is you can change to any color you want. So you can have white, you could have dark grey, you could have light grey, you could have whatever you want. And, well, not whatever you want. There's a choice of, 6 there. Not quite whatever you want, but you can certainly change it. So if you like having the black background and you still want to make sure that all your controls are very visible, that's how you do it. Now, this is also very helpful. Let's say I'm working on a photo. Let me just go to... I usually use light grey because I find most things contrast with that. But let me find something. Here we go. Here's a dark one. Here's my Aurora shot. Not a great example because it's not... Let me find something else. I need one that's not edge to edge on the frame so much, to give you the example. Okay, let's use this one. Here we go. Okay, so this is a night shot, and one of the challenges, if I make the background black, see the bottom, I lose reference to where the bottom of the image is. So sometimes it's handy to be able to change to a different color. So if you're working on a particular type of shot, if I had one that had a lot of white in it, let's see what I can find, something with some white in it, or something light. Just got a lot of light at the top. We could look at that one. But yeah, let's do this one. So as you can see, the white sort of starts to disappear at the top. So it it makes your life a little bit easier when you're trying to view your images. Depending on what you want to do. Here's another dark one. Let's have a look at this one. New Year's Eve in Sydney. Let's go black. You'll see how we lose reference to the edges of the photo, so we can't see where the edges of the photos are. So in this image here, and that's why I use light grey or medium grey, but usually I'm on light grey, typically is what I do, because it usually works with everything. So it doesn't matter whether I've got a black background or a light background, it usually always works. So I usually find no matter what, I've always got a good contrast. All right, so there you go. Hopefully you found that tip helpful. Let's jump back over here. But it's a good tip. It's one of those things that you can use, when you're editing your photos. And Lightroom is really powerful. One of the things about Lightroom, it has heaps of different things you can do, and I think that's one of its greatest benefits, but I also think it's one of its greatest drawbacks because it becomes quite complex to know all of these things, and I don't remember all the shortcuts. In fact, quite often I'm Googling for more shortcuts because I like the efficiency, and there are just things that I use on a regular basis, like some of the keys I use, because I use a tablet, not a mouse. You really need to learn the shortcuts because, without a mouse, it's a bit more difficult to move around. All right, let's jump in the chat box and see what's going on. Who have we got here today? Chatting away. Hopefully the stream is still good. Like I said, if we crash again today, which has been happening the last few episodes, I'll do my best to get up and running. Hopefully enjoyed last week's vlog as well. It was one of my WA photos down at Sugarloaf Rock. You know what? I had not done a lot of shooting in the middle of the day, and the last 2 vlogs have been in the middle of the day. One was of that Bunbury Lighthouse, and last week's one was of Sugarloaf Rock. And I'm actually really happy with the way the images turned out. I'm sure with some amazing dramatic sunset colours it would have been different, but I really enjoy just getting out and taking photos, and I've really never pushed myself to go and shoot in the middle of the day and try and work out a way to make that work. But if you have the right the right conditions, that Sugarloaf Rock I think worked really well because we had the wind, which meant the clouds were moving and could get a nice long exposure going. The challenge was getting a sharp shot because, with that wind, my filters were were shaking the camera around a little bit. So if I had my really right stuff tripod, I think I would have been better off. Yeah. All right, let's have a look in this Tools of Trials. Where did we get to? G'day, Greg, Photographia Australia, Photographia. I don't know how you want me to pronounce it. Probably that, Photographia. Brian said you've tried, just haven't worked it out yet. Yeah, well, at least get out there, keep pushing those boundaries. Bose Beaver says I'm way too late. That's okay. You can start at the beginning. That's cool. Shortcuts are just need to use them or you lose them. Yes, it's a bit like you snooze, you lose, isn't it? You don't use the shortcuts, you will forget how to do them. Bosby, just wondering what others do. Do you all save your raw files or only the ones you edit in the end? That's a good question because storage becomes a problem, doesn't it? And I can tell you, I'm just looking over here because I have got 1, 2, 3, 4 storage drives, all terabytes and terabytes of storage. I keep all of mine, and the reason I do that is because you never know when technology is going to change to allow you to do something different with a photo. So even if I get an image that I take and I'm not happy with, or maybe it's under or overexposed, I just keep it. I just save the raw file. Now, I don't take a lot of shots when I'm out on location, and I did in the beginning, but these days I typically might take, 30 to 50. That's all I take now when I do a shoot, rather than a couple of hundred, and depending what I'm shooting. But typically for a landscape, I won't shoot more than probably that many. And I think so. I keep all the raw files because you just never know when technology is going to change. Maybe. I think there might be a software that comes out where you can create a movie out of a series of raw files, or who knows. So I just keep them all. And quite often I'll go back through my raw files and find images that I didn't like, when I first looked through them. And then later on I look at them and go, yeah, I like that. And so then I process it. So that's what I do. I don't know what others do. Greg's asked, did you shoot the blue moon this week? No, I looked out the window. I tried to see it. I was very optimistic. I'm in another group on Facebook, and we were talking about going out and shooting it. It's like just a close-knit friends on Facebook that are photographers, and we were talking about going out to try and do it. I think it was, what night was it? Wednesday night, Thursday night? I can't remember. And the weather forecast was for it to clear up, but it didn't. I think it was Tuesday night. It was Wednesday night, yeah. The weather forecast was for it to clear up, and it didn't clear up. But I have seen some really cool photos of other people around, the world taking photos, but I didn't get there. Kathleen said, just great. Not just. Cool. Daniel, you save all yours. Recently upgraded my PC, decided to refill all my drives. Yeah, 1.4 terabytes of raw files just laying there. Yeah, that happens, doesn't it? All right, let's get stuck into some image critiquing. All right, so this week, let me jump over to Lightroom and let's get some image critiques shots. As I said, I'm going to reduce to 2 image critique images just because I found I was struggling to do all 3, and I'd rather do 2 and not rush one, and then try and fit in 3. So let's do this. All right. Just flicking through my screens. All right, so these are the 2 photos that I've got today that we're going to critique. This was one that I tried to do last week, except the computer crashed on me several times, so we gave up. This one here is by Christian Taylor. which I think is Damon Force Gaming or something. He's sometimes in the chat box. Not here today, but that's okay. I'm sure you'll watch the recording. So this is Christian Taylor's image that we'll be taking a look at. And then the second one that I've got is by Ren Thielen from WA. And Ren's quite often in here. Is Ren in here today? I haven't seen him, no. But we've got this image here by Ren Thielen from WA. And Ren is a VIP. So we'll be critiquing his image as well. So let's start with Christian's photo here. All right. So I don't have any sort of notes on this one, or Ren's, I don't think. Sometimes they send me in a little bit of a story and sometimes they don't. So we'll just jump straight into having a look at these images and sort of I'll give you, my normal thing is we have a look at the technical aspects, then we'll look at things like composition and then post-processing. So this image here was shot on a Nikon D60 with a 18 to 55mm kit lens, so the 3.5 to 5.6 aperture, 18 to 55, and he shot it at 18mm, so wide open. As you can see, it is either it's a sunset, so it was either had to be a sunrise or sunset. This one's a sunset. It was shot at 8:08 p.m. That's how I know it was, and it's a 6 second, so a 6 second exposure at f/22. And to get that 6 second exposure, he's obviously gone to f/22 to try and lengthen the exposure time. And we'll talk a bit about technically what that can do. And there's a few things. If you're not sure what doing what f/22 does to your lens, just hold it up to the light. You'll need one where you have an aperture ring and have a look through the lens, and you'll see what it does is it really closes down the hole inside your lens and minimizes the amount of light that it can let in. Now, that has a lot of side effects, and one of them is what's called light diffraction, because what you're doing is you're bending the light at its maximum amount. And what that means, if you think about how light comes through the lens, the light has to come in at more, like if you've got a smaller hole, the light has to come down through that hole and then back to the sensor. If you have a bigger aperture opening, it doesn't have to bend as much. So that light bending can actually have an effect on your image. All these lenses are designed to do it, so it's not something you need to worry too much about, but you do need to understand what the side effects are. So let's just have a look at what one of those side effects is. If you have a look where the sun here is, you'll see these beams coming off it. Now, it can be quite a desirable effect, especially when you're shooting lights at night. And in fact, if I jump back into my catalog over here, I think I should have an example of one of my shots I can use where I have used this to make the lights do something. Let me see. And they appear like stars. I'm sure I must have money somewhere. I do it sometimes. I'm just quickly looking through these to see if I can quickly pick something up. It's always the way, isn't it? I'm not going to pick something up. Oh, actually, I've got one that I do know where I did it to the sun as well. And it's really pronounced. Let me find it. Crikey. I actually called it Sun Star, this shot. Do you think I could find it? Maybe it's not in this folder. It's probably in a different folder. I'm pretty sure I called it Sun Star. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure you do, because I can't find this photo quickly. Let me just make these a bit bigger so I can see what I'm looking at. But it's quite a good effect. If you can get it right, it really works well. I had one when I went to Queens. I did it in Queenstown. I think I could find this. I can't find it. I need to be better at organising my photos. I'm quite terrible at it. But it's quite a good effect. If I could find it. Let me see. Not going to happen. Must be in a different folder. I thought I'd put it in this folder. That's all right. We'll jump back into here. But that effect, so if you a way for you to to try this is just use your local street lights. Go outside at night, put your camera on like a high aperture setting, like f/22, and take a photo, and you'll get this star effect happening off the light. So it's quite good. All right, ISO 100. So we shot at the lowest ISO we can go, which is good. Now, if looking at the picture, there's actually a lot of noise, and I don't know why that is. I don't know how he's processed this. There's a lot of noise in the water, and I have a feeling it may be HDR, because HDR creates a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise. There's a lot that can also be a side effect of the fact that he has done a lot of post processing. It's also a side effect of the fact that it is a JPEG file that I've been sent, so it can be a bit hard to tell. But anyway, there's a lot of noise there. There's also a bit of sun glare happening, which once again, these orange dots here, that can be a desirable effect, if done well. And in this, maybe that's the effect he was going for. So technically, it's a bit arty, so I'm not sure without a bit of a description what he was going for. But this is probably not my style. I don't like the magenta in the sky. That's not what I would do, but it doesn't make it wrong. It's just what it is, isn't it? Okay, so I like the movement in the water. This is, like I said, this tells me it's 6 seconds, but I have a feeling it might be a couple of exposures blended together, which is quite often the case. So let's jump into the develop module and just see what are some of the changes. Now, because I don't have the original file, he's obviously done a lot of post-processing. It's going to be hard to get the colours the way I'd like them. As for a composition point of view, it works really well. And the reason for that is you've got a nice leading line taking you straight up to that sun. It's quite a minimalistic shot. I have a habit of wanting the leading line to come out of the corner, so I probably would have done that, and tried to get this sun somehow on this line or close to it, which is going to, unfortunately, would remove that cloud. So I would probably, let's see if we can do it this way. I would try and see if I could do something that puts the sun on the line. That's a bit better. All right. So just, with composition, and once again, all these rules are meant to be broken, but you can see, to me, that just looks a bit better, that composition. And, I haven't lost anything of great importance by doing that. And I just feel it's sort of made a good difference. So I'm just going to take it back to where it was. That's the original photo there, I think. Yeah. Uh-oh, getting the coloured wheel. It's always a worry. Damn you. I think we're back. Well, that was a bit better than last time. At least my computer didn't restart, so I think what's happening. So that time, all that happened was Lightroom crashed. So that was a bit of a better result than last. Before we had the whole computer crashing. So I'm just, yep, cool. And it looks like most of everything seems to be pretty easy to get back up and running. All right, sorry, get me back. Hopefully you can see me, and it's all working again. Let's go back to where we were. All right, so we were in the middle of critiquing Christian's shot. All right. Yeah, so if let's just go back out, zoom out. Yep, all good. Excellent. Yeah, I don't know what. So it looks like by changing something, we have made it a bit better, but I can see that what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this back to 1 to 2 so I can show you. Here we go. All right. So what I had done, there we go. It was to do with the cropping tool inside a Lightroom, and this is the thing. I've seen a lot of people having issues with this, and I haven't. All I've done was I upgraded my Mac Sierra platform, but not Lightroom. So I was talking to my computer guy, and he said, "Do that. Don't do both at once because you won't know what the problem was." By updating Mac Sierra, it actually didn't crash the whole computer. Just crashed Lightroom. So I think Lightroom is definitely the culprit that's been causing me some grief. Anyway, so you can see that's the full image. And if I just bring in that crop, I'm going to do it again so you can see what is possible. If you think about it, see that sun, if we can get that sun to sit on the rule of thirds cross, it's just going to work that little bit better. At least on that line. So I'm a big fan of trying to do something where we can get it on the line. And I'm trying not to lose too many of the important features because it'll just change the picture too much. So let's try it. Let's try that. And once again, I always encourage you when when you take a photo, just try different things. See, to me, that's brought that leading line in too far. So I would rather see it, where the leading line was, a big part of the image coming in from the corner there like that. And probably lose a bit of that sky. That would be my preference. Let's just hit the auto straight and see what happens. I think I moved it, yep. But and always I think with the, with this composition thing, there's many different ways to compose a shot. And you play around with the crop tool and you'll sort of get a feel for it. Like you could do this in like a horizontal crop, something like, like this even. Maybe, you could do a square crop. You could do there's just so many options. Like you could do something like that. Even that looks amazing. So, you get a good shot, especially one like this where there's not a lot of things to stop you from making changes to the picture. You can really move things around and try different things when it comes to composition. And, I think it's such a secret to photography, composition. If you really want to, do some amazing things with your photography, really play around with composition. And the way to do that is just, when it comes down to it, just crop things a lot and just see what happens. Even that looks pretty good. Like a pano. So there's just lots of things that you can do. All right, let's just take it back out. The composition was fine. I would probably just change it so the leading line. So if you just have a look down here in the bottom left-hand corner, I'm a big fan of cropping it so the leading line comes right out of the corner. It just seems to work really well. So I'm going to do that in this example here, and I'm just going to bring this back up. I'm going to see if I can do something just to... All right, so that's a small change, but that's something I would definitely do. The other thing with this is I would really hone in on this, these rocks down here. This is a beach in England, so the rocks are a big part of it. And if you want to really bring something out, just grab a brush. So in Lightroom, click on brush, get the clarity slider, take it all the way to the right, and then just brush anything of detail. So all these rocks in the front here, give them a bit of a brush and really bring the detail out in them. So, this doesn't have a lot of foreground. These rocks are it. So I would say give it a hit. Now, they're also a bit light in the foreground compared to these up here. So we've got two choices. We can darken these ones down or we can lighten these ones up. So you can see it's dark over here as well. That's why I think it might be a HDR. And it can be really challenging when you do HDR directly into the sun. It's the most challenging way to do HDR. But I'll grab another brush, set the clarity back to 0. I'm going to increase the exposure by way too much, just so I can see what I'm doing, and then I'll adjust it. But basically, I'm just going to increase the exposure in any of the areas that I feel are a bit dark, and then I'm going to fix it in a second. But what you really need is a, this is where you need a reverse grad, which are the ones that start dark in the middle and go lighter towards the top of the graduated filter. Now that I've done that, I can just drop the exposure. See how I've made those changes in those spots? I can just adjust the exposure in those spots. So it's just real selective sort of tuning. So I'm pretty happy with that. I might just bring it back up just a tad. And then I can just, go in and just sort of give it a few more hits where I think it needs it. All right. Now, if we look at the before and after, it's not a huge difference. In fact, I'm going to do another one. That down the bottom here is still too dark. Well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do a graduated filter from the bottom. Let's do that. But reduce the exposure just a tad down here. Just to give it a little bit of a... There we go. Something like that. And we'll do the same from the top. There we go. Reduce the exposure down. Just a little bit. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this on a bit of an angle, because as you can see, it's sort of making this top left corner too dark. Oh, what happened there? Here we go. So let's just grab that, bring it over here. Just so I'm not affecting this top right corner as much as the left corner. So you can sort of move your filters around. This is a good thing with Lightroom. It's really easy for you to be able to make the adjustments you need to make. There we go. I'm happy with that. All right. So if we have a look at the before and after, let's just jump into this mode. Oh, that's interesting. As you can see, Lightroom is struggling. Something weird going on. Something very weird going on. All right. Let's see if we can get the before and after happening. Nope. Oh my gosh. Okay. Isn't that interesting? All right, hang on whilst I try and fix this. What is going on, Lightroom? It is not happy. All right, so it's definitely Lightroom that's been causing me this grief, Okay, here we go. It's interesting, and if you Google Lightroom Classic CC issues, there's a lot of people having issues. All right, let's see if we can get the before and afters to show up. Isn't that funny? Doesn't want to do it. Okay. This is a problem, isn't it? Lightroom doesn't want to work anymore. What's going on? Oh, there we go. We've got this back again. Let's see. Wow. No. Is anybody else having trouble with their Lightroom? Be interested to hear. No. Okay. That is really weird. So we'll have to use the history. Here's what we'll do. No, it just doesn't want to do it. Isn't that weird? The beauty of live. I've gone again? Oh, no. Can still hear audio. Isn't that weird? What is going on? Have you got me back now? This is incredible. This was going to be a test. Yeah, something weird's going on. Anyway, I'm going to quit Lightroom and reopen it. That's what I'm going to do, because it's given me a lot of grief. and then we'll see what's happening. We're back, are we? How much fun is this? All right, let's start Lightroom again. I finished my coffee. I'm going to have to go to water now. Oh, wow. All right, it's working now. All right, I'm going to show you my screen. Let's see. Here we go. Gone again. Back again. What can you see? That's... The other problem I have is that there is a bit of a delay. So when you say I'm gone, I could be back. What can you see? Hopefully you can see my screen now and everything's working. All right. So I'm going to try and do this again. Yes, it's working. All right. So this was the before and this was the after. So you can see I just made a slight change. And if you have a look at the pebbles, you can see how I've shifted the light up the beach more towards the sun. You can see how the left, where it was quite dark on the horizon, I've sort of lightened that up a bit, and the top right corner. Sometimes a very subtle change can make a big change. Now, because it's the JPEG, there's not a lot I can do about the noise and stuff here. There are a couple of other things you could do to work on this image, and I'm always a big fan of trying to eliminate anything that doesn't need to be there. So I can see there's like a light square there. I don't know what that is. It's probably a reflection on the lens or a filter, but it just doesn't work. So, what I tend to do with something like that is just get rid of it, because if it doesn't work, then we don't need it. Okay, so that to me was a little bit distracting, and it's now gone. So anything like that doesn't work and is distracting, I just remove. See, there's a couple of really bright rocks even down here, and a lot of people will not be happy if I start removing little things like this in the foreground. But if I find they're distracting and they're pulling the viewer's eye away from what I want them to look at, I just remove them. So there's little things like that you could do just to really, bring this image into its own. It depends how much time you want to spend and how much you're willing to alter an image as well, because maybe you're one of these purists who don't want to alter an image. Well, that's definitely not me. But some people are like that. The other thing that you can do in an image like this, now let me just try mucking around with the colours a little bit to see what I can do. Whoops, that's not what I want to get rid of that. Go to basics. Here we go. We'll just see what happens if I change the colour slightly. I'm just finding it a little bit too strong in the magenta. So I'm just going to bring that back a bit. I'm going to come down to colours. So if you come down here to colours, you find something's a bit strong in one particular colour, you can actually pick it from up here. So there's magenta. So I'm just going to reduce the saturation in the magenta. What does that do? Let's have a look. Maybe it's the purples. Let's reduce the purple saturation. Yeah, it's the purples. Okay, so it's not the magentas, it's the purples. So we'll go back to the magentas and we'll just put that back to where it was, and we'll focus on these purples. You can actually change the, how much of those purples are really pumping through as purples. I'm going to bring it back just a tad, just to change it. And if you have a look, you can change the luminance of something as well, so you can really change how that particular color is punching through. And I'm just going to bring it up a little bit, just a tad. So just a little tad. Yeah. So you can see it makes a small change, but it's enough that it's just not as purple as what it was. I think it was a bit purple for me. Let me just go back up to the basic settings now, and I'm just going to try warming it back up a bit. Here we go. Let's go just a little bit on the warmer side, somewhere like there. Yep, and let's just reduce that purple just a bit more, just to get rid. It's just too much purple. There we go. I'm just feeling like, he's definitely wanted the colour in there, so you don't want to remove the colour completely, but you can see it's probably not as extreme if I just show you the before and the after, before and after. Okay, so just subtle changes. The other thing that you can do, if I jump over here to my presets, I've got some vignette presets. I'm just going to do that as well. And what that does is just put a slight vignette on. So I'll show you that's before and after. Okay, so you can sort of see the difference that it's made, and that's probably, to me, I'd be happy with that. Sort of done. Well, I don't know what you guys think about that, but that would be my edit. So if you think about before and after. Okay. Let me show you. We'll do it this way. See if my computer can handle it. Okay, so this is the before. So you can see the key things here. Dark here, dark light down the bottom. Well, the light was a bit out. And I think that might be because it was a HDR image. And then after, you can see that it sort of just gives it a bit more of a natural look. Focus your attention more on the sun. And I think it works a little bit better. So that's sort of, just be careful. I mean, you can see that the original photo was really bright down here. I don't know if you can see that on your monitor, but on mine, down the bottom here, was just way too bright. And that has just sort of really evened it out and makes it a little bit more natural. You got to be careful with anything. When you're shooting into the sun, really difficult thing to do. So well done, Christian. Good photo. Looks like a nice location somewhere in the UK. So good stuff. All right. I need to get out of that. What's happened here? All right. Okay, let's jump into the next one, which is a Ren's photo. How are we going in the chat box? Let's have a look. Hopefully I'm still streaming. I don't even know anymore because it keeps crashing without me knowing. But we've got two things working against us. One is my computer is in the middle of treatment. It's like it's getting a course of closed down antibiotics. And we've also got the internet issue where the stream sometimes is not great. I've noticed just recently in this area, internet has been not as good as it has been in the last, I don't know, couple of months. And I think it's because there was a lot of kids on school holidays maybe, and they were using the internet. Maybe more kids got iPads and computers for school, for Christmas rather, who knows. But anyway, it looks like we're back on track. Cool edit of a lovely pic, thanks, cool. When my Mac died, lightning had fried the RAM and the processor. Well, I don't think that's happened, but you never know. Awesome, awesome. Looks like everything's working good, which is awesome. Okay. So we've got one more image to look at, and it's Ren Thielen's image. So let me just bring that up. Here we go. Bring that one up here. Here we go. All right. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's do this. Let's get rid of this. Go full screen for a second so you can have a look at what's going on. All right, so this to me looks like it's a nice sunset shot. We'll look at it technically in a second, but this is Ren Thielen's shot somewhere in WA. You can see it's a little sand path leading out to the beach. He lives on the coast over there somewhere. Very jealous. So let's jump into the details here and have a look at how it was shot. So shot on a Nikon D7200, ISO 100 with a 18 to 35mm f1.8 lens at 18mm and f5, 1/80th of a second f5. So it could be handheld even, who knows. It doesn't look like Ren has done any post-processing at all here, so we'll have a crack at that and see how we go. And sort of captured the essence of this this cloudy looks like an evening, 6:07 p.m. so a sunset. And in all, technically nothing else you could do. It looks pretty good. All right, so let's jump into the develop module and let's see what we can do. I'm going to, first of all, I think the exposure is a bit low. And it's always a challenge because if you have a look here, the exposure is really high. So with something like here where I've got high dynamic range, I always click on if you go over to over the right here, if you can see where my mouse is, I'll make it larger, there you go. On the top right hand corner of your histogram box, if you hit the up arrow, what it does is as soon as something is overexposed, it'll turn red. See that? Okay, so always, before you, if you're going to muck around with exposure on an image that has a lot of dynamic range, just click that, and that'll help you identify that. It'll just identify that really easily. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the exposure up a bit, and I'm going to drop the highlights down, okay, because I want to keep the definition of the sky. And straight away that's looking better. I'm going to increase the whites, decrease the blacks, just to give it some contrast, and I might even just bump the contrast a little bit. I'm going to give it a bit of clarity and a bit of vibrance. Now straight up, I'm just going to warm it up a bit. No, that was a mistake. No, not going to warm it up too bit. I'm going to just leave it. I'm actually going to cool it down a bit. There we go. Now, if I can just show you quickly. Now, that was like 10 seconds of adjustments. I want to show you what difference that has made. So this is before and this is after. Okay, before, after. Okay, so we've taken an image that was relatively flat and we've given it some depth, but we can give it even more depth. And the way that you do that, in particular in here, is quite often with curves. Now, we haven't used curves a lot, but I think I'll do that today. I think we'll do a bit of a tone curve. So I'll just close up the other module so you don't get confused. I'm in this tone curve one here. And there's a couple of ways that you can use this tone curve. You can manually manipulate the line. Okay, you can see this as I move up and down the line. Now, if you look on the right-hand side, it sort of tells you what area you're going to be affecting. I think you can see this grey box down here. Okay, so as I move up and down the line, it sort of tells you. So that's highlights up there, lights, darks, and shadows. So I can actually manipulate the line. So I can move the line up and down. So I can click on it and drag it like so. Or what I can do is I can move these sliders like so. Now, if you have a look, I've kept my histogram highlight checkout clicked, which means I'm getting red spots if I overdo it. Okay, and so I recommend you do that when you start playing around with levels. But for me, this image is lacking depth, so I really want to give it depth. And the way that we typically do that, if you have a look at this line, you want it to be in a bit of an S curve. So you sort of, a bit of an S curve. You don't want too much, but you're sort of dropping the shadows, and you just sort of, and you can just manipulate it in different ways. And just do it like this. Now, I've got some presets over here that are my little presets for clearing things, for giving me the looks that I want. So I'm pretty happy with that. And you can see that I've just adjusted things here slightly. And then what I typically do is I use these sliders then. I don't like moving the curve line because it's a bit more difficult. To manipulate with a tablet or the pen. So I'm just going to jump back into my basic settings because now the exposure can pop up a bit. We've just got to watch because we have got some blown highlights here. So I'm just going to just get rid of those. There we go. And I'm just going to increase the blacks a bit. Once again, increase that exposure just a tad. And then a bit more clarity. And you'll see that I'm starting to get a lot of depth in the image. A bit more contrast. And now what I need to do is I need to now do some localized changes. So let's just jump back into having a look at the before and after. So that's before and that's after. So I don't know if you can see the difference, but it's very flat. And now I've created this depth. And to me, I want to feel like I'm standing there when I'm looking at a photo. So to me, this is... And I spend a fair bit of time getting that right, and it's hard to explain how, but, this has a lot of depth in it. We're standing on the edge of a path, and that path leads out to the ocean. We can see the horizon. In fact, there's something splashing out there. I wonder what that is. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I've got my brush selected. We'll zoom in on that, actually. Let's get rid of this brush, and let's zoom in on that. What is it? I can't tell. There's something out there. But because it's a distraction, I'm just going to get rid of it now that I've seen it. And it could just be a wave, but it looks too localized for that. It's probably more likely to be a whale heading past, maybe. Who knows? But I'll get rid of it. But for me, I like to create that depth. So, that looks flat, this has depth. Looks flat, this has depth. And so I find the best way to do that is with using the tone curves and contrast. Now, for me, it's probably, overall, this sort of portrays the what was going on at the time, but I'm still finding it's a little bit dark for me. So you're going to have to start, because I don't want to make this too bright here. You're going to have to start doing some things to it with graduated filters to increase the exposure, just to lighten things up a little bit. And I'm thinking I might drag that right up here somewhere. So I've got a really defined edge. There we go. Just to bring a bit more light into it. And then what I'll do is I'm going to do another one from down the bottom here. And I'm just going to drop the exposure back down on the very bottom like that. And I'm going to do another one on the top, I think. Let's do the same thing at the top. Once again, let's drop that exposure down just a tad. Just to darken it down on the top there. Then let's grab a brush. This is one of my favourite things to do with these type of pictures. Grab a brush and get the saturation, put it all the way up. Don't worry, we'll reduce it later if it's too much. And just brush in where the colours are in the sky until you're happy with it. I'm pretty happy with that. And it's just going to bring it to life. Look at that. Beautiful. Okay, and we can also bring in a bit of dehaze as well. See the dehaze does? Just a little bit. And a little bit of clarity, just to give some definition. Here we go. All right. Once again, let's have a look at the before and after. So this is before, and this is after. Before and after. Pretty happy with that. From a composition point of view, there's not a lot I would change, purely because when you've got somewhere like here, it's just all foliage. But having said that, though, I probably would have tried to stand more to the left and just got a little bit more. I might even he's already cut it as a pano. I might just bring it down a bit more, just because that sky is not that interesting up there. And I'm just going to try and bring it in a bit, so it's just a little bit more interesting. Here we go. Yeah, that looks good. That looks really good. And see how, I'll show you this little trick too. I don't know if you can see the rays from the sun there. I've just noticed that. Grab your brush. If you want to really get the sun rays out, grab your brush and go 100% on the clarity. And where the rays are, let's see if we can get it to do it. Yeah, it's coming. See, that's really making them punch out. Just go over the sun rays. I don't know how we can see that on YouTube, but on my screen it's looking great. I'll show you before and after. Let's do another before and after. Yeah, I'll get rid of these two modules so you got a good view. Here we go. Let's go dark, and we'll go before and after. So that was before. So you can even see the rays in the before picture, and that's after. Before and after. I just need to get rid of this here. Here we go. All right. Before, after. Is it level? Maybe not. Let's have a look. I don't think it is. Let's ask it. Let's ask it to do an autocorrect. That was interesting. Yeah, it's done. There we go. That's better, isn't it? We'll go with that. Before, after. All right, it's straight now. Any other changes? I think it looks good. Looking good. Looking good. All right. So there you have it. So let's say thanks to these guys. If I can just get out of this mode. And we'll go back to library. Yeah, so a big thanks to Ren and Christian for sending those in. They're the two images that we've ended up with now, which is kind of cool. Looks good, huh? All right, we'll jump into the chat box for a quicker wrap up. And that looks like my timing worked out better because it's 9:32. So I think 2 images is much better than doing 1. Alrighty, someone said they were getting lag. Brian, getting lag, were you? Yeah, that's probably my internet connection. At the moment, it says it's pretty good, but you know what? It's going to happen. Let's have a look. Back again. Hope you find the cause of my problems. Me too. You don't think it's that easy? It's just highlighting the RAM failure. Could be. The RAM's under warranty, so we're just trying a few other things first. They're hesitant just to swap over $600 worth of RAM, and it's hard to know because they're blaming Lightroom. So I'm going to see how it goes. I'm documenting all the problems that I have. This week was much better than any other of the last week, so updating the operating system has certainly improved it. I think that's just how it is. So just be patient with me as I fix these issues. But I'll do my best. That's all I can do. The live streaming has its challenges, as you can imagine. But it's starting to come together nicely. I will now that I've run this live stream. Next week we'll be making another change, and I'm going to update the Lightroom CC Classic, which I've been holding off doing, because this week when it crashed this week was when I was using the crop tool, which is when it was crashing originally, when I first put the new Lightroom on. So I think Lightroom does have something to do with it. I know the RAM could have something to do with it, but Lightroom, they did a hardware test on my RAM and no failures came up. Now, that doesn't mean there's nothing wrong with it, but that could be the issue. Alrighty, well, to wrap up, I noticed someone earlier asking how you send in images, and they did find the link, but I'll let you know anyway in case you want to send some images in for critique. Down below the video, you should see an email there, ben@on3legs.com. Shoot me through 3 of your images, and I will critique one of those images live on this Pixel Chatter show. The other thing which we didn't have this week, which I encourage you to do, is send in your viewer kit so I can share that with everybody, and that way we can see what you're shooting your images with. I think everyone's really keen to see that and know a bit more about it. And of course, if you're a VIP, the cutoff for the VIP challenge is midnight on Monday night. This week's challenge is sunsets. If you're not a VIP, in the description below explains exactly how to do it, and you can come. So that's pretty much it for this week's show. I'll just go over the chat box to see what's going on. Anthony says, 3 more sunsets before the end of the challenge. Correct. How does it go in Photoshop? Photoshop is fine if I'm not live streaming. If I can't live stream Photoshop using this software because it just doesn't handle it. Funny enough, I can use Photoshop in the VIP live Hangouts because I use a different software, which is not YouTube. It's a different software. Tim, you have too many kits? Well, photograph something and show us what you've got. Maybe shoot your different kits and explain to us when you use your different kits. That would be pretty cool. Tim says, evil Adobe, yes. Sounds and images, impressive edits, man, big improvements of an image that had potential but needed work. Yeah, and sometimes it's just in the editing, isn't it, right? So, and I can see lots of comments about horizons. Well, we fixed that, didn't we? Yeah, awesome. Excellent. All right. Well, that's pretty much it for this week. Share your social media handles with everybody in the chat box before you finish up. I think the chat box keeps going for a little while after the live stream anyway, so feel free to jump in there. Dennis has asked, how about sunrise? Well, we will have a sunrise challenge somewhere during the year. At the moment, it's sunset. PS tends to be a memory hog. Yes, it does. All right. I'm going to shut this one down. Thanks once again for tuning in. Been absolutely amazing for joining us for Pixel Chatter. Can you believe number 28? We're nearly turning 30, which is pretty cool. Get out there and take some photos. Cheerio.